There's nothing surprising about Vice President Kamala Harris campaigning in Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania. But on Friday, she's going to take a break from those battlegrounds quickly and head to Texas to spotlight the impact of abortion bans. So let's bring in our political panel, Leslie Sanchez and Chuck Rocha. Leslie is a CBS News political analyst and Republican strategist, and Chuck is a Democratic strategist and was a senior advisor for Bernie Sanders' 2020 and 2016 presidential campaigns. Great to see you both here. Just a couple weeks to go. We're almost at the finish line. So I want to talk about this Texas visit. This is interesting. I mean, on one hand, Trump is going to places like New York and California, Harris going to Texas. Chuck, I'm curious what you make of this kind of stop. What will she get out of it?
I think she's talked about it. She's going to highlight the abortion issue. I think Texas is one of those states that's probably went a little further than a lot of other states. So drawing a distinction, I think it plays for her in the battleground states, and she's going there, and it checks a lot of boxes. I'm sure we're going to talk about the Latino vote. It's one of the bluest areas of Texas, and she has a ton of donors and supporters there. And what nobody's talking about is the Ted Cruz race and how close that is with Colin Allred. So I think it's a lot of different reasons why she's going there. And as a Texan and somebody who worked for Ann Richards, I'm really happy she's going.
All right, I know you both have connections to Texas as well. So, Leslie, I want to get your thoughts on that, too, because we saw what happened with Beto O'Rourke's run in 2018. He couldn't win Texas. Is there any chance, realistically, that Ted Cruz loses this thing?
There's always a chance, but I think rumors of his demise and early retirement are widely overstated. Ted Cruz has tremendous support in the state and throughout the state. And if you look at the over 200 counties that we have there, which is competitive battleground, it is a bright red. And in many of those border counties that Trump did extremely well in, you're seeing, you know, kind of the crimson and shades of purple. That's really important as Texas transitions. But let's look at the reality. He lost. Everybody said it was such a close race, but he lost. He won by 2.6%, but that was 219,000 votes. So in an election cycle, when you have 10,000, 3,000, tens of thousands, he won by a very healthy margin, and I think it's going to be just as robust this time around.
Let's talk about the Latino vote overall, because this is obviously, when you look at polling, Harris is leading among Latino voters, but you have also seen Trump make gains, and especially in the past couple elections, you've seen Republicans make gains. Chuck, I know you've been working on a lot of these congressional races. What are you seeing in terms of the data? Should Harris be worried?
We're always worried we're Democrats, but I would say that if you look at the Latino vote of what it was 10 years ago and took those voters, the Latino voters who voted 10 years ago, Harris would be up 80-20. The difference is there's so many new voters since then 10 years from now. 22% of the Latinos that vote in this election will be new voters. 40% will be new voters since 2016. You have an entire electorate that's coming of age, that's younger. The average age is 27. They're just not the same voters as their mothers and their grandmothers were, who were very staunch Democrats, who were Spanish forward, that were more foreign born. It's a whole different electorate, and you have to work really, really hard now because it's a persuadable voter that's leaning one way one day and another day another day. So it's a much different dynamic than it was 10 years ago.
I think this is an area we're going to agree on because the dynamic shift that's happening in Latino, they're not really always identified. You have a lot of people that are unidentified. They're not going to say they're a strong Democrat. They tend to vote in presidential elections. They tend to be second and third generation, and now they are voting on economic issues. They're homeowners. They have small businesses. They're really impacted by the rising cost of goods and services, and trying to maintain things for very large, interconnected families. And so I think that economic message we have been pressing, I know on the Republican side, to stick to that message, because that's the disaffected voter. That's the voter that Trump's been gaining.
All these new Latino voters are registering as non-party preferences in many states. That's the fastest growing. When a young Latino comes of age and registers in the last 5 years, they're not registering as a Republican. They're not registering as a Democrat. They're registering as no party preference. When I were in Bernie Sanders' campaign and folks were like, Chuck, how did you get so many Latinos? We centered our message around economics, and it really appealed to both sectors, and that's why Bernie did so well with it.
I would just add one point. Organizations like Texas Latino Conservative, they took Republican out of the name. They specifically focused on the conservative economic nature and personal liberties, freedom of religion, a variety of different things, and social issues that were important to
And the Libre Initiative has been working in the Valley now for 10 years, a Republican-leaning group who's been down there building relationships. When they first got down there, I thought it was crazy. I'm like, this will never work. They never went away, and I do give them that credit.
Yeah, I've been door-knocking, or followed their door-knocking efforts a lot over the past few years. I mean, it's so interesting because I take your point. Obviously, economics hover over all of this. I'm curious how the immigration issue plays, because I was in Arizona talking to immigrants who say that they identify with Trump's message, that even, and I'm curious kind of how you both see it, this harsh anti-immigration rhetoric. Does that turn away or does that invite Latino
I think
voters?
it cuts both ways. I think that it really matters state to state. What I just said about what the electorate looks like now, they're more U.S. citizens. They're more second, third, fourth generation. They're just looking at immigration much different than their grandparents do, who were newer to the immigration experience, right? So you just see a difference. They're still voting majority Democrat, but you do see a siphoning off of folks coming of age. That's what I mean by this vote that's coming of age. I would look at a candidate like a Ruben Gallego in Arizona, who's performing well above Trump, well above lots of other folks, who's talking about the border, saying, we can have border security and be a nation of immigrants at the same time, which is different than the way we would talk about Puerto Ricans in Pennsylvania.
It's two distinct differences. If you go back to even to George W. Bush, it was a compassionate conservatism, somebody who walks 400 miles to get here to feed their family. We need to find a way for them to be here legally. The country and nation has shifted because of the porous border, because it's no longer just a U.S.-Mexico border. It's communities all across the Midwest. It's across the country that the migrant population and open border has hurt those economies. That's why the distinction is different. So I agree completely, second, third, fourth generation. And the thing that's different and what we would agree on is they see themselves as Americans. They're not looking at it through an identity, an ethnic identity lens. They're looking at it as somebody concerned about the community.
Right, and as you both remind us often, rightfully so, it's not a monolithic group. So there are a lot of different kind of things to consider here. I do want to talk about Liz Cheney for both of you, because she's been out on the campaign trail for Kamala Harris. It is very striking to me, the idea of Liz Cheney providing kind of some of the closing arguments for Kamala Harris. Chuck, I'm wondering, how effective is that really for Democrats?
I'll give you two numbers that makes the case. In Wisconsin, just Wisconsin, a state that was very close, Nikki Haley got 76,000 votes against Donald Trump in that state, while Joe Biden won that state by less than 10,000 votes. It was so close. So that is one example. There's 76,000 Republicans who voted for somebody else. Now, will they all not vote for Donald Trump? I don't think that's the case. But if you want somebody out there to make the case to folks, unlike a lot of these younger Latinos that are very sporadic voters, these white, conservative, moderate voters, they vote like it's their job, and that's a vote you can count on. She's just trying to persuade them her way.
And Trump is saying, hey, you guys can have the Cheneys. This is not the Cheney Republican Party anymore. This is the Trump Republican Party. Does he actually need those voters?
Trump needs every voter, right? To win this campaign, you're going to need anyone. He needs Nikki Haley voters. I think that's the part that we're talking about. And she has come on board and said she is supporting Mr. Trump. So that is the signal that she wants. And if you talk to a lot of those women leaders down there who've been wringing their hands and really frustrated, they don't want the antics that they saw in the last administration. They want strong, solid leadership. They're feeling more comfortable. I feel they're falling in line, and they will support Trump fundamentally. In larger numbers. Will some peel off? Sure. But I think it's enough to hold the line in Wisconsin.
Yeah, I've been seeing that on the ground as well a little bit.
I really think it's late. I think that he should have taken advantage of that earlier and had her out there as soon as he could have, but that's...
Well, they are in talks of having a campaign event together soon. So
Better late than never.
Better late than ever.
There we go. We agree
2 weeks
again.
to
Today,
go.
tomorrow.
Chuck and Leslie, thank you so much. Always a fun time with both of you who agree, who find common ground. That's what we do on this show.